ever since 2016, Boom Studios has been doing an amazing job creating Power Rangers comics. For multiple different series, connecting multiple different seasons together, adding lore to previous seasons, and pretty much anything you can think of for the Power Rangers multiverse, Boom Studios has got you covered. But there's a couple areas in the Power Rangers multiverse, and in the Power Rangers series specifically, that I think Boom Studios could have some really cool story ideas to go with. And today, I'm going to share my top 5 choices for eras that Boom Studios could explore. I was inspired to do a video like this after the announcement of the new issue of the Power Rangers Unlimited series that was going to be focusing on Zhane and Andros in the battle that made Zhane injured for when we then saw him in his first appearance in Space. And I felt that that was a really cool story for them to focus on, to see the battle that led to that injury that we knew Zhane had. So I started thinking about some different eras that the Boom Studios comics have not yet explored, and that really no other medium of Power Rangers has explored, that are some prime candidates for some awesome storytelling opportunities. Now, while I thought of some eras that Boom could focus on, I didn't really think of like full-on stories of like what would be told here, just kind of maybe some potential ideas, because I'm not the one writing the stories. And also, if I was coming up with kind of a fan fiction-y idea, I wouldn't want to like say it out there, because then Boom probably wouldn't be able to use it. Then again, anything I say in this video, Boom Studios is more than welcome to. Hasbro is more than welcome to take and do whatever they want with it, because I think it'd be really cool. That's why I'm talking about these. But I came up with 5 potential ideas here, so let's go ahead and start with the Zeo-Turbo Transition. So we all know that there was a pretty rocky transition between Zeo and Turbo. It's infamously a very weird transition that seemed like there was a lot of stuff cut. Now we've heard rumors and we've heard different reports that there was potentially more stuff shot from the 1997 Turbo Power Rangers movie that would have explained sort of the destruction of the Zeo Zords or the Zeo powers that would have led to them having to unlock the Turbo powers and stuff in the movie. And now, of course, there was also the infamous fan legend of Scorpion Rain, which was a big hoax thing that occurred in like the early days of Power Rangers online fandom in like the late 90s. Now, there was already a fantastic video put out here on YouTube by my buddy Este. If you guys would like to know the full story of Scorpion Rain, be sure to check out his video. But basically, what if Boom kind of did their own quote-unquote Scorpion Rain? I think it'd be awesome, first of all, if they called it that. I don't think they ever would. But basically, I would love to see some sort of story that is basically the Zeo Rangers' final stand. Giving Zeo a proper finale. This would definitely be a lot more of a Zeo focus than a Turbo focus, but you could kind of start sowing the seeds for like why certain things would start happening in the Turbo movie. Or you could kind of always kind of bring into the fan theory of Billy was secretly developing the Turbo powers behind the scenes. Of course, we have to kind of explain why Bulk and Skull are going to go back to the detective agency. And then, of course, one of the biggest loose ends in the Zeo finale is sort of the grand return of Zed and Rita as the major antagonists. And then the next time we see them is just when they're asleep on the moon when they get a call from Divatox in the Turbo movie. So what happened? I don't know. I'm not here to write it, but if Boom would ever like to tell us what happened there, or what happened with the Zeo powers, or any of this kind of stuff, sort of their own version of Scorpion Rain, I think that would be really cool to see, and it is a perfect era for us to get either a little mini comic series for, or like one of those graphic novel one-shots like we got for like Sins of the Future or The Psychopath. Development of Lightspeed Rescue. So this is another one that I thought would be really cool if they could explore, because we don't really know too much about the development of Lightspeed Rescue. We don't really know a lot about that kind of era of Power Rangers in general, because that was sort of an era where we had sort of 2 space seasons back to back. We had In Space and Lost Galaxy, so we weren't really focusing on Earth that much. We definitely went back to Earth, like Lost Galaxy starts on Earth and Countdown to Destruction is on Earth and everything, but we never really kind of focused like on what was going on Earth in that time period. We can kind of assume that there was sort of relative peace, but then again, there's probably some kind of villain organization out there somewhere doing something, but there probably wasn't like an actual team of Rangers on the planet for like 1998 through like 2000. So it'd be really interesting to sort of explore maybe the foundation of Lightspeed. And I was kind of thinking, what if it has some sort of connection to like the events of Countdown to Destruction? Kind of Earth sees that there's these bigger threats out there and needs to kind of prepare on their own, especially if there's not a major Ranger team active on Earth at the time. And I think it'd be really cool if we kind of connect it, and Boom would probably love to do this opportunity as well, in terms of maybe connecting it to Promethea and Grace Sterling, so you can kind of connect it back to Mighty Morphin and everything. They already made Promethea clearly become Terra Venture later on. We already established that. So why not have it be like Promethea still, there's some basis of it that stay back on Earth and sort of help develop Lightspeed, which I know there's always been a fan theory that like Lightspeed would lead to SPD, which would then eventually lead to like Time Force, and just basically one big organization that has existed in Power Rangers forever, essentially. But why not connect Promethea to that or something? And I think that what would be really cool is you could have kind of the focus or the main character of sort of the development of Lightspeed be Captain Mitchell. But I would have loved to have seen Captain Mitchell actually morph into a Ranger. And every time I think about this idea, I think of this edit that was posted on Ranger Command Power Hour's page when they interviewed him, the actor at least, back in 2015. They kind of photoshopped this theoretical black Lightspeed Ranger, and I think that looks really cool. Why not have that be something like in a story, kind of like the black Time Force Ranger that Boom Studios did for the Sins of the Future one-shot. I just think it'd be really sweet to kind of see the exploration of both his character, give him some more backstory besides just his whole deal with the kids and Diabolico, and also tie in kind of where did Lightspeed come from, and maybe you can also have some Easter eggs of maybe where Lightspeed would go that we never got to see from the show. The Paleomax Rangers. So this one I think could be a lot of fun because you could finally make the toy-exclusive RPM Paleomax Rangers trio, which, if you don't know what these are a trio of Rangers designed by Bandai America in the RPM toy line to give Rangers to engines 10, 11, and 12, the Paleomax Zords, that never had them in the show. And these figures are awesome. They go for a lot of money. I have the Mammoth one, thankfully, but I don't have the other two. But we do have this really cool picture of them that was updated recently by my buddy Sentai5 on Twitter. A lot of times you probably see this photo of the Paleomax Rangers floating around on the internet, and it was always his photo, but it was taken from like 10 years ago, so he decided to take a new one once he got them out of storage for something recently. But I think it'd be really cool if we made those canon. Boom Studios has sort of made toy things canon before. We actually just saw that Andros is wearing like kind of a black in-space suit with an all-black helmet that looks exactly like his Lightning Collection figure from Target in one of the more recent issues of the Power Rangers comic. So why not make Bandai's Paleomax Rangers full-on canon? What's really cool about this is that we sort of have a way that we can do it, because in the show of RPM, it's always discussed that the reason why the Paleomax Zords just kind of show up out of nowhere is that they were sort of like prototype Zords that were, this doesn't explain why they're number 10, 11, 12, but they were kind of prototype Zords that they were not able to control or properly link to the morphing grid. So maybe we could have some kind of story to where Dr. K was developing them, we actually get to see that happen. I just think it'd be really cool if we could kind of explore that. And also, I love RPM so much, so if we could get more stories or some kind of one-shot set in that time frame or also in that universe, I think that would be really cool. The previous Samurai Rangers. So for this one, it's kind of an easy one here because technically there's so much history that we don't know about the Samurai Rangers, because Samurai, as you know, a lot of it was just kind of a direct translation of Shinkenger plot points or Shinkenger episodes. And one of those things that was carried over was that there's been numerous different generations of Samurai Rangers, but we don't really focus on much of them at all. Shinkenger really didn't either, only a couple of them got focus. Kind of the biggest focus is like Jaden and his immediate father, and also Lauren's father, and their whole plan to keep Lauren a secret and stuff like that. That's kind of the main thing that we focus on in terms of previous Samurai Rangers. But technically, and I'm sure if you grew up watching Power Rangers Samurai like I did since that was my very first season, you're very familiar with this intro sequence.
Centuries ago in Japan, Nylok monsters invaded our world, but samurai warriors defeated them with power symbols passed down from parent to child. Today, the evil Nylok have risen once again and plan to flood the earth. Luckily, a new generation of heroes stand in their way. They are the Power Rangers Samurai.
And so when sitting down here and making this video idea, I thought of that intro sequence and what if we see that drawn in comic panels? But then continued, what did that Ranger team do? Where did symbol power come from? How is it connected to the morphing grid? That kind of stuff. Just really cool ideas that Samurai sort of dealt with, because Shinkenger sort of dealt with it, but there's so many things you could do there to connect it to the greater Power Rangers universe, because as it is, Samurai very much is part of the Power Rangers universe in a big way. Lauren is one of the main characters of the Shattered Grid event, but there's a lot of stuff that we could do to just, make it even more richer of a story. The story of Megaforce Green. So for this final one here today, I thought of what if they actually gave a explanation to, there's a simple explanation for that, and that is Megaforce Green. So Megaforce Green is sort of something that's been kind of teased by Boom Studios recently. There was that big Every Ranger Ever cover series that they did when the Mighty Morphin and Power Rangers series started, and on the big cover of all the Rangers Ever is Megaforce Green, which has never actually appeared in any kind of Power Rangers thing, and everybody was wondering, why is Megaforce Green on the cover? And the artist actually specifically said that they were asked to put Megaforce Green on the cover. And then there was this really weird tweet about one of the events that Boom Studios was going to be a part of, one of the live stream events on Hasbro Pulse, where they said go Megaforce, and nothing came of that. So it's possible that there's already some plans for Megaforce Green to be introduced in the comics in some capacity. But I thought of what if they either introduce him in a comic story arc, or maybe just do another one of those one-shots or something. A lot of these are like one-shot ideas or unlimited ideas, even if you don't want to do a whole graphic novel on him. And I was thinking, like, what if Megaforce Green is Gosei? Maybe it was Gosei, and then something happened to where the original Megaforce Green powers were corrupted or destroyed or something, and they became the Megaforce Black powers, or they had to make those as a backup or something like that. And that's why Megaforce Black has a connection to Megaforce Green or Super Megaforce Green, or maybe that's why there is no Super Megaforce Black. There's just a lot of fun things you could do with that to actually make that hilarious line that's become kind of an infamous meme in the fandom actually mean something and give it an actual explanation. That kind of joke line right there is like begging for an actual explanation, because of course you can just leave it as is and it's just a funny thing that there was sort of acknowledged about using two different Sentai seasons where one of the colors wouldn't match up, or you could really dive into it and make a whole story out of it, which I think is the funner idea. And with that is 5 eras of Power Rangers that Boom Studios could make some stories up for. There's a lot of untapped potential here, and there's a big sandbox in the Power Rangers universe or the Power Rangers multiverse that I think Boom Studios could have for stories in years and years and years to come. And I'd love to see them explore these eras, and of course, there's a lot of other eras that I didn't even think of or didn't come up with ideas for or anything like that I love to see them do as well. I mean, there's so many opportunities here. Why not take some of them? And like I said, if Boom ever wanted to explore any of these ideas or any of these eras like I talked about here today, go for it. I mean, I hope that they wouldn't think that they couldn't use ideas that I talked about here just because I talked about them. Maybe that's the case, but hey, I think it'd be fun regardless to see what they come up with. I'd also love to hear you guys' thoughts down in the comments below on what kind of eras of Power Rangers would you like to see Boom Studios explore, or really any kind of medium of Power Rangers explore. It could be the show as well. And also, if I get enough ideas, I might make another one of these, so let me know if you guys would like to see that. And until next time, you guys can follow me on Twitter at LivingRangerKey or LivingFigPR, and I'll see you all next time.